All right, and we're back. Okay, big things are coming. So I'm gonna start posting videos again. Not that anyone's watching anyway, but it's okay. I'm gonna post more to get people to watch. Anyways, the point is, big things are coming in my life, and so um, I have realized the importance of honing down on principle-centered leadership because I've realized that I am going to be in a position where people are going to be dependent on me and looking up to me, both at work and in my family as well. And I know the importance of this. And so this is my attempt to this is my attempt, also my plan to make sure that we're getting this stuff done. So let's get into it. We're reading Principle Centered Leadership. Give men a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Okay. Some things here are pretty cool. This first, of course, each video I just go through one section of the book. This is more honestly for me to understand it. When I teach something, I understand it way better. And so I have to not cram the book and just read it. I have to take the time to digest and apply each section of each chapter. So that's what this is all about. If there's a background noise, they're doing some construction next door. So that's why. Okay, so the preface, a principle-centered approach. Cool. So Stephen Covey starts this section off with this idea of how in his seminars he's always asking people. He's meeting with business executives. These aren't just low-level entry employees. These are top-tier, high executive employees that he's working with. So he asks them to share their toughest problems or their hardest questions. And there's a pattern he started to notice. There's 4 elements or categories that these questions tend to fall into. The first one is, how do you balance personal and professional areas of life while in the midst of crises and pressures? So obviously, we know that we have pressures from our life as well as from our work, right? And there's fires, there's crises, there's pressures to put up with, and how do you manage that? Number 2 is, how can you be genuinely happy for the successes and competencies of another? I actually find myself, I don't really struggle with this one. I find myself to be actually inspired when people achieve success. And that might just be my background. I'm in the door-to-door space, and so it's really abundant, right? No one's getting a promotion over me. It's people earn their spot as office lead based on recruiting a downline. It's not based off of whoever their employer picks, right? And so I don't have as much detail with that or experience with that, but in the common corporate role, it's totally a thing. How do we maintain control yet give people the freedom and autonomy they need to be effective in their work? This one I do actually struggle with a lot. So I've got some office leads right now under me or with me, let's say. And the big thing that I understand from this is that I actually give people too much freedom. That's where I struggle. Is I don't hold enough boundaries or be strict enough. I'm learning that as I go. But it's super important because you have to set boundaries and give structure and control, or people don't know what they're even doing. They get lost and confused and overwhelmed, and that leads to frustration on both parts. And so there's this balance you have to find between giving people the freedom to be creative, use their ingenuity, to take their initiative while still following company policies or organizational standards, because you have to have the order and the chaos. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about that in his book 12 Rules for Life, about order and chaos and the balance there. And the fourth one is, how do we internalize the principles of total quality and continuous improvement at all levels and in all people when they are so cynical in the wake of all the past programs of the month? So when leadership rolls out new programs, people are used to it. They know, and it normally falls flat on its back and normally doesn't do anything. And so people use these initiatives, but then it never works. And so every time we try to do another initiative, people get turned off by it. And so it's like, how do you get them involved in that process? So basically, those are some common issues that this book handles. It says that with an understanding of this book, I myself will gain a basic principles of effective leadership, which is internally and of itself, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, then you feed him for a lifetime. So with understanding of basic principles of effective leadership, I will be empowered to answer these and other tough questions by myself. I won't need to go elsewhere. I'll be able to answer them by myself. That's really cool. Without the understanding, I'll tend to use hit and miss, seat of the pants approaches, which I actually find to be so true. There are so many times where I feel like I do just kind of use seat of the pants, like whatever feels right in the moment, without looking at the principles of effective leadership. So I'm super excited for that. His brother, John Covey, talks about these ineffective approaches, and going through them, it's interesting because when you read them, you would think to yourself, well, why would anybody do that? Like, they're all bad. Like, you can intuitively know that. Yet we all do it every single day. And it's crazy to me. Like, he basically reframes the 7 habits of highly effective people to be the 7 habits of highly ineffective people. Which, be reactive, doubt yourself, and blame others. It's like, yeah, no dip. But yeah, everyone does that every day. We all doubt ourselves and we all blame others. So it's just like crazy to think that. And we should be proactive. Okay. Work without any clear end in mind. We do that all the time. Like, so often. But it's like, imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. It would not go well. There would be so many errors and mistakes. Things would not fit properly. Like, imagine trying to build a gun without any sort of blueprint for it or measurements. Like, it wouldn't work. Yet we do that in our lives, with our kids, with our marriages, with our organizations all the time. It's crazy to me. But yeah, I do it. So like, this is why I'm reading this, because it's really helping me understand. Do the urgent thing first. Yeah, dude. Like, how many times do we stop to think about what's truly important instead of just like what's right in front of our faces? That's crazy. Think, win, lose. Competition's everywhere. That's crazy. Seek first to be understood all the time. We just want our own opinions to be understood. We don't ever take the time to hear other people out. If you can't win, compromise. Yeah, that makes sense. Don't find other alternatives. Fear change and put off improvement. Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. How often are we always just sitting around fearing change and putting off improvement? All the time. So when we fall into these traps, this creates a private failure. And just as private victories precede public victories, so do private failures precede embarrassing public failures. So when we fail to live the habits, we're not only missing out on the success, we're also entering this embarrassing, regret, shameful bondage of pain that we enter into. And so it's not, we're not standing still or just missing out on the good. We're actually hurting ourselves by default, because you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no staying in the middle. And so when you go backwards, you actually move from a state of dependency where you are dependent upon other people to achieve or to fulfill your needs and wants, to a state of counter-dependency where you engage in fight or flight behaviors. So this is where you become extremely reactive. Like dependent people just wait for others, but counter-dependent people will actually fight people. And they take on this like individual, like reactive mode and a victim mentality. And then the next step down from that is actually codependency, where you cooperate to destroy. You are actively engaged in working with other people to do harm, to do worse. And this is, again, this gossiping, politicking. This is honestly where the secret combinations come from in the Book of Mormon. That's interesting. So how do people break such habits and replace them with new ones? How can we escape the pull of the past and recreate ourselves and achieve meaningful change in our personal lives and in our organizations? That's a fascinating question, because going through this, it's making me realize and understand that we really do all the time. Like we do those 7 habits of ineffective people all of the time. So how do we actually break that? Like how do we get from that bondage and move into a land of freedom, peace, and liberty? That's cool. So that's what this book attempts to answer. I'm excited for that. I really am. In section 1, I deal with the personal and interpersonal. Yeah, it's fine. Dude, yeah, I'm excited for that. This is going to be awesome. Super stoked for this because this is going to make it freaking dope. I'm excited to learn how to manage the balance there and how to recognize the traps that I'm falling into. I think that I fall into a lot of traps that I'm not even aware of. And I think this book will help me to highlight those. In fact, I know it will. Okay, well, that's it, guys. Learned a lot today.